Did you know that the smallest state in the United States controls one of the most complex and powerful coastlines in the country? Rhode Island may look tiny on the map, but water, not land, defines its true size. A vast web of bays, islands, and inlets gives it more coastline per square mile than any other state in America. For centuries, its deep natural harbor shaped Atlantic trade, naval dominance, and maritime power, making it far more influential than its size suggests. Rhode Island isn't small at all. It's a compressed ocean, a maritime giant hiding in plain sight. Today, you're about to uncover 50 incredible facts that will completely transform how you see America's smallest and most underestimated state. 50. Rhode Island recently went through a quiet but historic identity change that many people never noticed. For centuries, its official name was the State of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, making it the longest state name in the entire country. But in November 2020, voters chose to turn the page on that legacy. Due to its historical associations, the second half of the name was officially removed. Today, the state is known simply as Rhode Island, a shorter name that finally reflects its small physical size while marking a significant moment in its modern identity. 49. When people think of the ocean state, they usually picture a few sandy beaches, but the reality is far more dramatic. Nearly 14% of Rhode Island's total area is made up of bays, inlets, and saltwater channels. Out of roughly 1,214 square miles, a remarkable portion isn't land at all. This water-dominated geography means that no matter where you are in the state, the Atlantic Ocean is never far away, placing every resident within about a 30-minute drive of the sea and its cooling coastal influence. 48. The ghost counties of the coast. One of the strangest things about the political geography of Rhode Island is that it has 5 counties. Yet, they do not actually exist as functional governments. Unlike almost every other state in the country, Rhode Island abolished county government back in the mid-19th century. While you will still see Bristol, Kent, Newport, Providence, and Washington counties on a map, they serve only as judicial and navigational markers. There are no county sheriffs, no county taxes, and no county boards. Everything is managed at the state level or within the individual 39 municipalities. 47. The surprising secret New York border. Most people assume that Rhode Island is only bordered by Massachusetts and Connecticut, but that is a geographic misconception. In reality, the state shares a maritime border with New York. This aquatic boundary lies in the waters between Block Island and Long Island. It is a fascinating quirk of navigation that allows you to travel from the smallest state directly into the Empire State without ever touching the mainland of New England. This unique connection highlights the state's deep reliance on its surrounding waters for commerce, travel, and its very identity on the eastern seaboard. 46. The highest point of humility. If you are an aspiring mountain climber, you might find the highest point in Rhode Island to be a bit of a comedic letdown. Jerrymouth Hill stands at a modest 812 feet above sea level, making it one of the lowest state high points in America. For many years, it was actually one of the most difficult to visit, not because of the terrain, but because the private property owner famously restricted access. Today, the path is open, but do not expect a treacherous trek. It is essentially a pleasant walk through a quiet wooded area. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to keep discovering the strange and incredible geography of our entire country. 45. A forest hiding in the crowd. Despite being the most densely populated state in the country after New Jersey, Rhode Island is surprisingly green. In fact, approximately 59% of the entire state is covered by lush forests. This geographical irony means that while the cities are packed tight, there is a massive amount of woodland preserved throughout the western and southern regions. Traveling through the state can feel like a constant shift between bustling urban industrial centers and serene, quiet groves of oak and maple trees. It truly offers the best of both worlds for nature lovers and city dwellers alike. 44. The island that gave the name. A common point of confusion for visitors is the fact that Rhode Island itself is not actually an island. However, the name originally referred specifically to Aquidneck Island, which is the largest landmass in Narragansett Bay. This island is home to the famous city of Newport. While the official name for the entire state was eventually adopted, The locals still frequently call the land mass Aquidneck to avoid confusion with the state government. It covers roughly 37 square miles and serves as the geographical heart of the bay, connected to the mainland by several massive bridges. 43. The shoreline of 400 m. For a state that is only about 48 miles long and 37 miles wide, Rhode Island boasts an incredible amount of coastline. Depending on how you measure the various nooks and crannies of Narragansett Bay, the shoreline extends for roughly 400 m. This is thanks to the jagged glacial history of the region that carved out countless inlets and coves. To put that in perspective, if you were to stretch the shoreline out into a straight line, it would reach almost all the way from the State House in Providence down to the city of Baltimore. 42. The densest little city in the country. Tucked away in the northern part of the state is the city of Central Falls, which holds a unique geographical record. It is the smallest city in the smallest state, covering just over 1 square mile of land. However, it is also the most densely populated municipality in Rhode Island. Roughly 19,000 people live within its tiny borders, creating a vibrant and bustling urban environment. Because of its extreme compactness, every single resident in Central Falls lives within a 10-minute walk of a public park or green space, which is an incredible feat of urban planning. 41. The deep valley of industry. The Blackstone River might look like a peaceful waterway today, but it holds the title of being the hardest-working river in America. Its steep drop in elevation over a short distance provided the perfect source of water power for the early Industrial Revolution. Geographically, this river carved the path for the birth of the American textile industry in the late 18th century. The valley it created is now a National Historical Park, showcasing how the natural flow of water can completely transform the economic and physical landscape of an entire region, turning quiet woods into bustling factory towns. 40. The glacial footprint of the bay. Narragansett Bay is the defining feature of Rhode Island's geography, and we have the glaciers of the last ice age to thank for it. Roughly 12,000 years ago, retreating ice sheets carved out the deep channels and left behind the 30-some islands that the bay today. This glacial legacy created a deep water harbor that is sheltered from the rougher waves of the open Atlantic. It allowed for the development of major colonial ports and continues to dictate the climate, economy, and 39. The divided lands of the ocean state. Rhode Island is geographically split into two very distinct regions that offer totally different landscapes. To the east, you have the coastal lowlands, which include the bay, the islands, and the relatively flat land surrounding them. To the west, the terrain rises into the New England uplands, characterized by rolling hills and rocky outcrops. These uplands reach heights of over 800 feet and are largely covered in dense forest. This split means you can go from a sandy beach to a rocky wooded hillside in less than 20 minutes, which is a rare geographical treat. 38. The Great Salt Pond of Nine. Along the southern coast of the state, you will find Ninigret Pond, which is the largest of Rhode Island salt ponds. These unique coastal lagoons are separated from the Atlantic Ocean by thin barrier beaches, creating a delicate and shallow ecosystem. Nine Pond covers roughly 1,700 acres and is a haven for kayakers and birdwatchers. Geographically, these ponds are vital because they act as natural buffers against storm surges while providing a nursery for various marine life. It is a prime example of the state's diverse coastal geography, where the land and the ocean constantly intermingle. 37. The ancient rocks of Cumberland. Rhode Island has an official state rock that is found nowhere else on the planet in such large quantities. Cumberlandite is a dark, heavy, and slightly magnetic volcanic rock located in a large deposit in the town of Cumberland. Geographically, this rock is a bit of a mystery as it contains high levels of titanium and iron. During the colonial era, settlers actually tried to use it to forge cannons, but the high titanium content made it too brittle. Today, it remains a unique geological landmark that serves as a reminder of the state's ancient and explosive volcanic past. 36. The man-made Scituate Reservoir. If you find yourself thirsty in the capital city, you are likely drinking from the Scituate Reservoir. This is the largest body of fresh water in Rhode Island, but it is not a natural lake. It was created in the 1920s by damming the north branch of the Pottet River. The project was so massive that several entire villages had to be flooded to make room for the water. Today, the reservoir covers over 3,000 acres and provides high-quality drinking water to more than half of the state's population, making it a critical man-made geographical feature. 35. The tiny width of the ocean state. Rhode Island is famously compact, measuring only 37 miles at its widest point from east to west. To put that in perspective for my fellow travelers, you could drive across the entire state in about 45 minutes if the traffic is behaving itself. In states like Texas or California, you could drive for hours and still be in the same county. But here, you can cross 3 different states in a single morning commute. This geographical tightness makes it one of the most accessible places to explore, as you are never far from anything you might want to see. 34. The short stature of a state. The north to south distance of Rhode Island is almost as modest as its width, clocking in at only 48 miles. This diminutive stature is the reason why the state earned the affectionate nickname Little Rhode. It is so small that it could fit into the land area of Alaska more than 400 times. Despite this, the state manages to pack in dozens of distinct neighborhoods, varied landscapes, and a vibrant culture that makes it feel much larger than the odometer suggests. It is truly proof that the best things come in small, coastal, and very compact packages. 33. Block Island's Mohegan Bluff. If you want to feel like you have been teleported to the edge of a Scottish moor, you must visit the Mohegan Bluffs on Block Island. These towering clay cliffs rise about 150 feet above the Atlantic Ocean, offering a dramatic vista that feels more like Northern Europe than the United States. They were formed by the terminal marine that created the island during the last glacial retreat. Visitors must descend a wooden staircase of over 100 steps to reach the beautiful rocky beach at the bottom. The view is truly a geological masterpiece. 32. Point Judith's Dangerous Waters. Point Judith is a small peninsula in the town of Narragansett that serves as a critical navigational landmark. Geographically, it sits at the western entrance to Narragansett Bay and is notorious among sailors for its treacherous waters and frequent heavy fog. The area is often called the graveyard of the Atlantic because of the many shipwrecks that occurred here before modern technology existed. Its iconic lighthouse has been guiding vessels since 1810, providing a beacon of safety for those navigating the rocky shores where the bay meets the open Atlantic Ocean. It is a rugged maritime boundary. 31. Woonsocket Hills Elevation. Woundit Hill, located in the town of North Smithfield, holds the distinction of being the second highest point in the entire state. Reaching an elevation of 586 feet, it offers a surprisingly prominent view of the surrounding northern landscape. Geographically, it is part of the rocky glaciated terrain that defines the Blackstone Valley region. While it may not be a mountain by global standards, it provides a significant topographical change from the flat coastal areas. The hill is a favorite for local hikers who want to experience some real elevation in the smallest state. 30. Beavertail State Park's position. Beavertail State Park is situated at the southern end of Connecticut Island in the town of Jamestown. Geographically, it is unique because it provides some of the best vantage points for observing the raw power of the Atlantic Ocean. The park is named for its distinct shape, which resembles the tail of a beaver when viewed from the air. It features rocky coastlines that are constantly battered by waves, creating a rugged and beautiful landscape. It is also home to one of the oldest lighthouse sites in the country, dating back to 1749. It is nature at its finest. 29. The Saconet River's true identity. Despite its name, the Saconet River is not actually a river. Geographically, it is a tidal strait that separates Aquidneck Island from the mainland of Tferton and Little Compton. It runs for approximately 14 miles and connects Mount Hope Bay with the Atlantic Ocean. Because it is a saltwater body influenced by the tides, it hosts a diverse array of marine life typical of the bay. This geographic misnomer is common in New England, where early settlers often labeled narrow bodies of saltwater as rivers based on their elongated and narrow physical appearance. It is a saltwater thoroughfare. 28. Mount Hope Bridge's height. The Mount Hope Bridge is a suspension bridge that spans Mount Hope Bay, connecting the town of Bristol to Portsmouth on Aquidneck Island. When it was completed in 1929, it was the longest suspension bridge in New England. Geographically, It serves as a vital link in the state's transportation network. Soaring 135 feet above the water at its highest point, the bridge offers stunning views of the bay and the surrounding islands, highlighting the vertical geography of the region. Its green towers have become an iconic part of the local skyline and a navigational landmark. 27. The Charlestown Bridgeway's purpose. The Charlestown Bridgeway is a man-made channel that connects Ninety Pond to the Atlantic Ocean. Geographically, it is a vital feature that allows for the exchange of salt water and fresh water, maintaining the delicate brackish balance of the pond. Before the breachway was permanently stabilized with stone jetties in the mid-century, the opening would naturally shift and close due to sand movement. Today, it serves as a popular spot for fishing and boating. It demonstrates how human engineering can permanently alter the coastal geography to support both local ecosystems and recreational activities for the public. 26. Mwami State Beach's length. Mswamaket State Beach is located in Westerly and is famous for being the longest stretch of state beach in Rhode Island. It spans about a half-mile of pristine sandy coastline along the Atlantic Ocean. Geographically, this area is part of a barrier beach system that protects the inland salt ponds from the direct force of the ocean waves. The beach is a prime example of the coastal lowlands, offering flat sandy terrain that attracts thousands of visitors every summer. Its geography makes it vulnerable to erosion during major storms, requiring constant monitoring and careful preservation by environmentalists. 25. The Watch Hill Lighthouse location. The Watch Hill Lighthouse sits on a grassy peninsula in the village of Watch Hill, Westerly. This geographic location marks the extreme southwestern corner of Rhode Island. The site has been used for navigation since the colonial era. With the current granite structure built in 1856, because it sits on a high bluff, it provides a commanding view of both the Atlantic Ocean and Fisher Island Sound. The lighthouse serves as a geographic boundary marker between Rhode Island and Connecticut waters, standing as a silent sentinel over some of the most beautiful and expensive coastal real estate. 24. Brenton Point State Park wins. Brenton Point State Park is located at the southwestern tip of Aquidneck Island in Newport. Geographically, it is positioned exactly where Narragansett Bay meets the open Atlantic Ocean. This location makes it one of the windiest spots in the state, which is why it has become a world-renowned destination for kite flying. The park offers wide, open vistas of the sea and the rocky coastline. It was once the site of a grand estate, but today it serves as a public space where visitors can experience the cooling breezes and the dramatic and rocky maritime scenery of the coast. 23. The Narrow River Estuary. The Narrow River, also known as the Penobscot River, is another geographic misnomer in the state. Much like the Saconet, it is actually a 6-mile-long tidal inlet and estuary. It runs parallel to the coast of Narragansett in North Kingstown, separated from the ocean by a thin strip of land. Geographically, it is incredibly shallow and sensitive, serving as a critical habitat for many species of birds and fish. Its unique structure makes it a popular spot for kayaking, as the calm waters provide a stark contrast to the nearby crashing waves of the nearby Atlantic Ocean. 22. Rose Island Seclusion. Rose Island is a small, secluded island located in the middle of Newport Harbor, accessible only by boat. Geographically, it covers about 18 acres and is home to the historic Rose Island Lighthouse. The island served as a military bastion during various conflicts because of its strategic location overlooking the entrance to the harbor. Today, it is a wildlife refuge and a place where visitors can stay overnight to experience the life of a lightkeeper. Its isolation within a busy harbor makes it a fascinating geographic anomaly that offers peace and quiet just miles from the bustling city of Newport. 21. Puckett Falls Legacy. The Pawtucket Falls are a series of cascades on the Blackstone River that played a monumental role in American geography and history. Geographically, the falls provided a natural drop in water level that was easily harnessed for mechanical power. This specific geographic feature is the reason why Samuel Slater chose this location to build the first successful water-powered cotton mill in America in 1793. The falls essentially acted as the engine for the industrialization of the entire region, proving that even a small geographical feature can change the course of a nation's entire economic and social development. 20. Connecticut Island Center. Connecticut is the second largest island in Narragansett Bay and is home to the town of Jamestown. Geographically, it sits right in the center of the bay, acting as a natural stepping stone between Newport and the mainland. It is connected to the west by the Jamestown-Veritasano Bridge and to the east by the Claiborne-Pell-Newport Bridge. The island is approximately 9 miles long and 1 mile wide, featuring a mix of farmland, rocky shores, and quiet residential areas. Its central location makes it a vital hub for all-bay travel and commerce in the modern era. 19. Prudence Island's isolation. Prudence Island is the third largest island in Narragansett Bay, but it feels worlds away from the mainland. Geographically, it is located near the center of the bay and is primarily accessible by ferry from Bristol. Unlike its neighbors, it has no bridges and very little commercial development. Much of the island is protected as part of the Narragansett Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. This geographic isolation has allowed for a thriving population of white-tailed deer and a variety of rare bird species to flourish in a landscape that looks much like early colonial Rhode Island would have appeared. 18. The Great Swamp Basin. The Great Swamp in Washington County is a massive freshwater wetland covering about 3,500 acres. Geographically, it is one of the most significant inland ecosystems in the state. It was formed in a basin left behind by the retreating glaciers, creating a dense thicket of Atlantic white cedar and red maple trees. While it is a beautiful natural area today, it is also famous as the site of a major battle during King Philip's War in 1675. Its difficult swampy terrain played a major role in the military tactics used during that particular historical era. 17. Tiverton's geographic exclave. Tiverton is a unique town because it is one of the few parts of Rhode Island located on the eastern side of the Sconet River, sharing a land border with Massachusetts. Geographically, it is physically separated from the rest of the state by water, making it feel somewhat like an exclave. This location gives it a distinct character with high ridges that offer some of the best panoramic views of Narragansett Bay. Its geography is dominated by the contrast between the rocky, elevated woodlands to the east and the low-lying, fertile coastal lands along the western river banks. 16. The Blackstone River's vertical drop. Geographically, the Blackstone River is often called the hardest-working river in America. Over its 48-mile course from Worcester to Providence, it drops 438 feet. This steep gradient created a massive amount of kinetic energy, which is why the river became the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution. The physical geography of the river's descent was the literal engine that powered the nation's first textile mills. 15. The Scituate Reservoir submerged history. The Scituate Reservoir is the largest body of water in the state, covering about 5 square miles. However, it is entirely man-made. Geographically, this area was once a collection of 7 vibrant villages. In the 1920s, the Gloucester and Scituate valleys were flooded to create a clean water source for Providence. Beneath the surface of the water today lie the foundations of homes, roads, and farms, creating a hidden underwater geography that most residents never see. 14. The Cliffwalk's Metamorphic Foundation. Newport's famous Cliffwalk is more than just a scenic path. It is a window into the Earth's crust. Geographically, the walk sits on a mix of metamorphic rock, phyllite and schist, and sedimentary rock conglomerate. These formations are hundreds of millions of years old and show the intense pressure of tectonic plates colliding. The jagged edges and pudding stone formations along the walk are evidence of an ancient mountain range that once towered over the region. 13. The Donut Hole Maritime Border. There is a fascinating geographic quirk in the waters between Block Island and New York's Montauk Point. For decades, a small area of the Atlantic was considered international waters because it fell outside the 3-mile territorial limits of both Rhode Island and New York. This created a donut hole where state laws didn't technically apply. Eventually, a 1980 Supreme Court ruling helped define the maritime boundaries, officially bringing the hole under state jurisdiction. 12. The Warden Pond Basin. While the Scituate Reservoir is the largest body of water, Warden Pond in South Kingstown holds the title of the largest natural freshwater lake in Rhode Island. Geographically, it is a glacial kettle pond formed by a massive block of ice left behind by a retreating glacier. Despite its size, over 1,000 acres, It is incredibly shallow with an average depth of only 4 feet. It serves as the primary drainage basin for the Great Swamp. 11. The Wood-Pawcatuck Wild and Scenic Rivers. Rhode Island is home to some of the cleanest and most ecologically diverse river systems in the Northeast. The Wood-Pawcatuck was recently designated as wild and scenic by the federal government. Geographically, this system covers 300 square miles and includes 7 rivers. It is one of the few places in the densely populated I-95 corridor that remains largely pristine, providing a critical geographic corridor for migratory fish and rare plants. Remember to subscribe and like to keep learning amazing information about each state in our beautiful country. 10. Mount Hope's Sacred Peak. Mount Hope in Bristol is not just a hill. It is a site of immense geographic and cultural importance. Rising about 200 feet above Mount Hope Bay, it served as the seat of the Wampanoag people. Geographically, it offered a strategic 360-degree view of the bay and the surrounding islands, making it a natural fortress. It was here that the leader Metacom King Philip held court, utilizing the height to monitor movements across the water. 9. The Pawcatuck River Boundary. The Pawcatuck River forms the majority of the southwestern border between Rhode Island and Connecticut. Geographically, it is a winding tidal river that changes character as it moves toward the Little Narragansett Bay. Because the river's path has shifted slightly over centuries due to erosion and silt, the exact border in the middle of the river has occasionally been a point of minor friendly dispute between the two states. 8. Diamond Hill's Quartz Vein in Cumberland. Diamond Hill is a unique geological feature named for the abundance of quartz crystals found there. Geographically, it is a massive vein of white quartz that was once mined for use in industrial abrasives. It is one of the most prominent outcrops of this mineral in New England. While the crystals aren't actual diamonds, the way they sparkle in the sun after a rainstorm gives the hill its legendary names. 7. The Fox Point Hurricane Barrier. Providence is geographically vulnerable because it sits at the head of a funnel-shaped bay. To protect the city, the Fox Point Hurricane Barrier was completed in 1966. It is a massive series of gates and pumps that can completely seal off the Providence River from storm surges. It was the first structure of its kind in the United States, designed specifically to counteract the city's low-lying coastal geography. 6. The Great Salt Pond's tidal influence on Block Island. The Great Salt Pond, also known as New Harbor, was once a completely landlocked freshwater lake. In 1895, a permanent breach was cut through the dunes to connect it to the ocean. Geographically, this transformed the pond into a tidal salt pond, creating a massive natural harbor. This single geographic intervention changed the island's economy forever, allowing large ships to find safe anchorage in the center of the island. 5. The Ocean State Coastline Paradox. Despite being the smallest state by land area, Rhode Island has a coastline that is disproportionately long because of the deep indentations of Narragansett Bay and the many islands. The state has over 400 m of shoreline. If you were to walk the entire coast, you would cover a distance nearly 10 times the actual length of the state itself. This is a classic example of the coastline paradox in geography. 4. Ninigret Pond's Barrier System. Nine Pond in Charlestown is the largest salt pond in the state. Geographically, it is separated from the Atlantic by a narrow barrier beach. These salt ponds are lagoons that are essential to the state's ecology, acting as nurseries for winter flounder and bay scallops. The fragile geography of the barrier beach is all that stands between the calm pond and the destructive energy of the open ocean. 3. The Seacon River's Estuary. The second river is actually the northernmost extension of the Narragansett Bay tides. Geographically, it is a tidal estuary where the freshwater of the Blackstone River meets the salt water of the bay. It features a unique tidal bore, a small wave that travels up the river with the incoming tide near the Pawtucket Falls. This mix of waters makes it a high-nutrient zone that has supported human settlements for over 8,000 years. 2. The name Rhode Island Geography. Most people don't realize that Rhode Island was originally the name of just one island, Aquidneck Island, where Newport is located. The rest of the state was Providence Plantations. Geographically, the state's official name was the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations until a constitutional amendment in 2020 shortened it. The geography of the islands versus the mainland was so distinct that it was codified in the name for nearly 400 years. 1. The geographic center of Rhode Island. If you wanted to stand in the exact middle of the state, where would you go? The geographic center of Rhode Island is located in East Greenwich. Specifically, it is situated about 1 mile southwest of the intersection of Crompton and Tillinghast roads. Standing there, you're equidistant from the northern border of Burrillville and the southern tip of Westerly. It is the heart of the smallest state, a quiet spot that anchors the entire geography of the region. After learning these 50 facts about Rhode Island, tell us which one did you like the most or which one surprised you. Leave it in the comments and let's see how many of us picked the same fact. If you think we missed one or want to add something, we'd love to hear from you. Your comments help us make every video even better. And speaking of videos, here's another one on screen so you can keep exploring the geography of our beautiful country. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and give it a like so we can keep learning together.